The Christen Brothers were founded by Edmund Rice in Waterford in 1802, and he based his rule on that of the Presentation Sisters, the first Irish-originated sisterhood papally approved. Blessed Edmund Rice visited the Presentation Convent in Fair Street in 1835 to interview a young man, Patrick Carroll from Drogheda, who later became Brother Stephen. One of the Presentation Sisters said to Edmund Rice, "We have apostolate for you. Will you not send some of your brothers to us here in Drogheda?" But it wasn't until November the 1st, 1857, that the first community was set up at 9 Free School Lane. They took charge of a school that had been established in 1787 at Westgate, under the auspices of the patrician monks. On January the 18th, 1858, the brothers opened this, their first school, in Westgate, and closed its doors in 1955. The building later became the Star and Crescent Club. Overcrowding meant the purchasing of a site at the Orchard, Sunday's Gate, and they lived in Church Lane for some time until St. Joseph's Monastery was built. It is now Scholars' Townhouse. They established a second monastery on Clinton's Lane in 1967, adjoining St. Mary's Diocesan School, which was then established, but which was taken over by the Diocese of Meath in 1986. In 1990, the brothers moved to a new priory in Westcourt, and a new secondary school was opened on Newfoundwell on the 23rd of April of the same year. They finally closed their doors in Drogheda on December the 23rd, 2003, but their commitment continues to the teachers whose school is part of the Edmund Rice Schools Trust, their past pupils and the parents who continue to promote Edmund's charism. Since 2000, 8 to 10 second level students from St. Joseph's CBS Newfoundwell have gone out to an Indian school accompanied by some of their teachers. This happened when a Christian brother called Brother Stephen de Sousa had a vision as a great educator to be able to provide education to those who couldn't otherwise receive it, helping children to come off the streets. The boys from CBS Newfoundwell have travelled to India 8 times in the 20 years, and like Artskull Rish, the Dublin pupils who have left their mark in the Cheshire home in Mongu, Zambia, and the orphanage run by the Presentation Sisters, the boys on the Indian project from Drogheda have turned storerooms into classrooms. During their stay of 2 weeks, they agreed to even manage to do without their mobile phones and technology, as well as experiencing first-hand poverty. Never mind the culture shock on their arrival in India or Zambia. They also discovered traits, crack and gifts that they had never noticed before in their travelling companions, and in some cases discovered their career for life as a future teacher. So 220 years after the foundation of Edmund Rice's first Presentation Brothers School in Waterford in 1802, his vision and charism continue to live on in the Presentation Brothers, the Christen Brothers, and the Edmund Rice family and their respective schools.
Have you ever worked with any of the Christen Brothers, and what was it like?
When I started out teaching here in 1993, I joined the school in 93 under what was a new principal then, Peter Nolan, and the first lay principal for the school. Previous to that, people will remember Brother Reynolds, who was here when we were down at Sunday's Gate. He oversaw the build here and the move up to Newfoundwell. So I approached Brother Reynolds in June of 1993 looking for a placement for my teaching practice when I was doing what was then called the HDIP. It's now known as the Professional Masters in Education, and it has moved to a 2-year course. So Brother Reynolds agreed that I could come back and do my teacher placement here. When I arrived in September, Peter Nolan was here, and the brothers had a house that was right next to the school here in Westcourt with a gate that accessed from that house into the school. And at that time, I think there were 4 or 5 brothers living in the house. 2 of them who were teaching in the school People who have an association with the school will remember Brother Sean Kelly. Sean was a brother for my first 2 years here, and then he left and rejoined us as a lay teacher and has taken up a position as principal in Loretto Navan since that.
Had you foreseen any problems?
No, in fairness to my predecessor, David Madden, he had a huge amount of groundwork done in bringing the school to where it is today. We got an extension allocated to us in about 2011, and that opened in 2015. So David oversaw that as part of his role as principal at the time. I worked alongside him as deputy principal. So that was a massive change and a huge advantage to all of us here. The additional facilities, the additional space. We had approximately 650 students at that time, and we were in a building that really only had capacity for 550. There was massive work done by David's predecessors also, so I really have carried on the mantle. The biggest challenge probably is the level of change that has happened in more recent years as a result of the COVID pandemic and the move now for us into the co-ed setting. So we're constantly trying to look at what students and parents and the community want and need, and to adapt to meet that need in the school.
How many nationalities have you in the school?
So would you believe, Tony, we have an initiative here in the general purpose area where whenever we have a student from a new country, we order a flag. So we currently have 39 flags flying in the general purpose area. Now that doesn't mean that we have 39 different nationalities now at the one time, but we certainly have had 39 different nationalities over the last 10 or 15 years. And it's surprising the impact of that on a student when they arrive, maybe new to Drogheda, new to the area. English mightn't be their first language, and when they come into the school and they can see that somebody has already walked that path ahead of them from their own background, it gives them great faith in the school and helps them to relax. We were joined this year by Ukrainian students, and we have had students from the Ukraine before, but obviously in the current climate it's a very different situation. So we have 9 Ukrainian students with us, and they range right across all years with the exception of 6th year, and they also have been a wonderful addition to the school, and parents have worked very closely with us to help them integrate and settle in Drogheda in what has been a very difficult time for them.
Where do you see the school going forward to in 10 years' time?
I suppose one of the most significant changes in the school is about to happen, so it's very appropriate that we're having this conversation today. People certainly don't associate St. Joseph's Secondary School as being a mixed setting, but we're moving to that in September, and there's great excitement in the area. So we will welcome 50 first-year girls in first year next year, September 2023, and I suppose the impact of that on the school and all that will bring for us. We've become far more diverse, far more inclusive, and that reflects the community and the society that we're living in today. And it seemed a very natural move to move from the single sex all boys to the co-ed. All of the primary feeder schools now in the town are co-ed. There are no single sex schools left in Drogheda at primary level. There's a bill currently in the Shannon which is, if enacted, will see all schools become mixed in the future. There's no date obviously set for that, but we began a conversation with the Board of Management and with the Edmund Rice Schools Trust 2 years ago, where we were considering taking girls in, and that came from a demand really from parents of sons who had been with us, and they began to ask the question, as to whether there was a possibility of enrolling their daughter down the line. Obviously it makes a lot more sense if you have a family, 2 or 3 in a family, to have them all attending the one school, one drop, common holiday times, common start times, finish times. So we explored that. The Trust were very open to us moving to co-ed. We're one of 4 Edmund Rice schools this year who will move to a co-ed setting, and we're really looking forward to it. And I suppose my thanks to the parents who have put their trust in us and in the systems that we run here, because we didn't envisage that we would have 50 girls. So we're delighted with what that'll bring to the school.
Will you have a female principal to manage the 50 girls?
I suppose one of my predecessors, Mary Adamson, was the first female principal appointed in the school. Peter Nolan was the first lay principal. Mary was Peter's replacement. So we already have had a female principal. I'm joined on the senior management team by two deputy principals currently, Patrick Traynor and Jennifer Kelly. So Jennifer will work very closely with the girls. We have a great staff who will embrace the girls coming in and make them feel very comfortable. And absolutely, I have no doubt that there will be a female principal again in the school in the future.
Can you see any challenges with the 50 girls coming?
I don't really, because I suppose all of the groundwork for that move has happened at primary level. The students coming into us have had co-ed setting the whole way up. It will certainly be a change for us. We currently have 862 boys enrolled in the school in the current year. Obviously the sixth years will move on, but next year we'll have about 850 boys with 50 girls. So we'll be taking very good care of them. But as I said, I think the co-ed setting is there in primary. And I think it's us, the teaching staff and the school personnel who will have to get used to the change. But speaking to other principals who've overseen this move, it's something that happens very naturally.
Would they see changes that has happened from then to you?
There was huge changes, and I suppose a lot has changed in recent years. I've already mentioned the co-ed setting. The inclusion of students from different cultures, different nationalities has brought massive benefits to the school. We have three other very big initiatives. We opened our first class for students with a diagnosis of autism 4 years ago, and we will open our fourth class next year. Now, a class for students, it consists of 6, and we're assigned then 2 SNAs and an additional 1.5 teachers to work with those students. But the majority of students who have come to us in that setting have been integrated into mainstream, and that has brought so much learning for all of us in the school, and has been a massive positive in the school. We begin an extension next year to facilitate the 4 classes that we have there. As a sort of sidebar to that, then we put an application into Irish Guide Dogs for the Blind. They have a new scheme where they place community dogs in school settings, and we were the 5th school in Ireland to get a community dog. He joined us at the start of the year last year. His name is Andrew. And Andrew works not only with students in the autism classes, but right across the school. He's very calm, very well trained, and I have him here alongside me. He might say, "How are you going to sit?" Okay, and shake hands. So Andrew works with the students in the autism setting, and if they feel overloaded during the day or they feel very stressed, he's specially trained to recognise that. So he comes up to them, as he has done there with me. He will put a paw on them, or he'll rest his head on their lap, and they're able to play with him. Obviously, sensory needs are massive for some students, so they can play with his ears. He may lie down on the ground beside them, and that helps the students to regulate. He also works with students who may have anxiety around attendance. He joins our animal care classes with students who are doing the level 2 programme, L2LP, at junior cycle. So he's been a massive addition to the school, and I certainly don't think that the Christen Brothers, when they left all those years ago, could ever have imagined that a dog would be part of the team in St. Joseph's. And then finally, this year we opened what we call a nurture space. So with 862 students currently, you can imagine that there's a very diverse population in the school, and some students who come from disadvantaged backgrounds. So our nurture space is set up in the format of a kitchen with an extended sort of living area. So it's to replicate the home. And that is there for students who may not have a breakfast in the morning. They may not have the comforts that we all expect everybody to have in current life. So that has been a massive benefit for students. Their timetable to come in there, have tea and toast with the teachers who work in that area, and they make sure that they're set up with everything that they need for the classes that they'll attend following that. And we hope that that will increase opportunities in education for some of the disadvantaged members of our town and of our school community.